Okay, welcome to part 5 of this. Excuse me. Welcome to part 5 of this build. Today, I'm going to work on this. This is our piece that's going to go inside the lid. I've gotten it glued up and stained. I still have a couple pieces that I need to finish, but I'm not going to put these on until after I've felted this, because these are going to go on here and right about here to lock our pins in place so they're not just falling out. So what I've done so far, like I said, I've done this. I've gone ahead and finished gluing it up and staining it. And then I went through and I cut a pattern of what I need to cut the felt to. Because the way I'm going to cut the felt, or do the felt this time, is a little bit different than I normally do. I'm actually going to be using some of this Aleene's Fabric Fusion. I got a little bottle of it so I can test it to see if I like it or not. I did a test piece of it, and it seems to work really well. Um, it's on there nice and solid, and so it didn't bleed through or anything. So, excuse me, it's a little dirty because I dropped it on the floor and I hadn't swept yet. So, but yeah, it seems to work pretty well. It's a little bit different than the contact cement because at least with this, it will allow me a little bit of time to get things stretched into place where I need them. And this pattern that I made is it's fairly rough, but it'll get me the basics of what I need to do. I know that I need to mark this one. So it is, because I cut it a little too wide when I was doing my trimming to get everything fit into place. But one nice thing about it is this is, you've got a little bit of leeway. It's going to stretch a little bit here and there, not a lot, but I cut this to the basic shape of my piece, so I'm not going to have a lot of trimming that I'll have to do. And then I've also got my cutouts for my hinges that'll attach here, because I don't want the hinges sitting up on top because they just won't fit quite right then. So the hinges will be down below the felt, which I also think will be nice, less chance of, scratching anything. So we're going to start out by laying out our pattern and try to get it on here as best we can. And then we will start cutting this. And I will get my fancy dollar store cutters and my other cutter, my snap-off knife, which these are nice. I had been using the cheapy Harbor Freight ones, which are nice, but I decided to upgrade. I got this Husky one from Home Depot, and it's nice, and it comes with 3 blades, and I really like the blades on them. But you can get replaceable blades. These are good because you can use them and pitch them, or if you lose them, whatever. And I'll still continue to pick them up. But if you put too much pressure on them, it tends to break the plastic. They're not really meant to do what I'm doing. This is going to be a little sturdier for what I want to do here. So I decided to upgrade. I treated myself a little bit. And we'll talk a little more about treating myself here in a little bit on another piece of kit that I just recently got that I'm really happy with and really excited for, because I've been wanting one, and that is a table saw. And I picked one up off of Facebook Marketplace for $5. It's a older 7.5-inch Craftsman. It was missing the blade guard, but it runs, it works. So I've refurbed it, cleaned it up, made the new plate for over the blade, and smoothed off the fence. And I do think that I'm going to go ahead and build a sled for it. But it's small. I mean, it literally will fit on here, and I'll go over more of that in a little bit. But the thing that's going to be great about it is anytime I'm cutting these small pieces like this, it had been taking me a lot longer in the past because I'd cut them with a handsaw and then I'd plane them down to make sure that I was getting them nice and smooth and right to the right dimension that I want. But after refurbing that saw, I got my measurements laid out, and something that would have taken me an hour before took me 30 seconds to do 6 of these plus the base, and I'm really excited and happy about that. And it'll also allow me to, in the future, start doing a little more joinery instead of just doing things the way that I have been doing them. So I would be able to do some finger joints on the ends and just make things look a little bit nicer. So that's, I'm still going to be using my hand tools. I'll only be able to use that at certain times of the day. I won't be able to use that at 4 o'clock in the morning like I do when I'm working a lot when everybody else is still asleep. So with that being said, we'll get to that a little bit later if I've got time. But for right now, I'm going to get myself a fresh end here on this snap-off blade. So I got that. And I'm going to hold this down here with my straight edge. Right on the edge of my pattern. Go ahead and get my cutter out. And just start going from there. So get my bottom edge lined up here. We'll get that cut. There's my little cheapy dollar store circular blade cutter here that works awesome. And these round bladed cutters really are great. Get myself lined up on my edge where I need to be. Came off my edge just a little bit, so we're just back that off. Then we'll do our top here. And now, for part of this, I am going to use one other tool. And I am going to grab one of my wood chisels here because it is exactly the width that I need this to be. And just push down there. Get this back up. Another one of my Harbor Freight buys. These are those Windsor design chisels. They are cheap, but they work. They don't hold an edge the longest, but you can sharpen them real easy. Again, I did cut off the ends on them. I still need to finish reshaping this one, just because I didn't like the ends on them. And I'm just going to round that over. So, and yes, it is proper technique to stick your tongue out while you're doing this. It helps with your concentration and aligning. Just kidding. Put that away. And then I'm going to get one more tool out here. These are the smaller hand chisels. I'm going to use these in some of these areas to just cut through the tops here. Just because it'll make it a little easier in the end. And yeah, it is a little wider than what we're doing, but that's fine because it's getting glued down anyway. So then we'll be able to stretch this a little bit when we get done. And get it where it needs to be. So now, just get our wheel cutter out here, make sure we're lined up. And hopefully if everything turns out right, I'm not too far off. And this will just come right together. So I might actually even just come back through and finish these up with the scissors. So now we have all our little fingers. We'll clean off our spot here a little bit and we'll see how this fits. I'm not looking forward to this because I think something might have slipped there and I'm not happy about it. But it's okay. We might be able to make it work. Actually, all in all, not too bad. I'm pretty happy with it. Just need to tug this down a little bit more. When we do this, maybe we'll need to trim this one out just a bit. Like that. That's why they say to always do a dry fit, right? So that's what we're doing. All right. All in all, not too bad. I've always hated working with fabric. And it's okay if you're a little bit up in here because you're going to be covering up some of those mistakes with the fabric when we go in and cover up those sides. So I'm just going to trim a little bit off of here. like so. And I think that looks pretty good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and glue this down. And this is, like I said, this is a little bit different than I normally do, using this type of adhesive, but it should work just as well, if not better, because of the situation that we're in. Just hoping that this doesn't dry too fast. So I'll show. Because now I'm going to spread this stuff out a little bit, get my handy dandy, also Dollar Tree brushes out here, or foam brushes. I'm going to put a little more down here. There. I'm just working on getting it spread out as evenly as possible. So we have good coverage. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start running these in here. Get it lined up with my top. Get my edges lined up. Just start pushing it down into place. So and again, we don't have to worry about it being right up against the sides, because we will have other felt going in to protect the sides for the pins also. So we'll be able to hide some of those mistakes that we have later on. So there we go. Now we'll just continue to kind of roller this out. This is one of those cards from an arcade that we took our kids to that we probably never get back to, so I don't feel bad. They know there's nothing on it, so. But they work for good for squeegeeing stuff out, as I'm sure some of you guys already may know. They're good for putting vinyl down and everything else, so. And you can usually get them in some pretty tight areas. Now, that's the other reason that I keep those Harbor Freight knives around after I've used up the blades, because they are a good size to fit into corners. So, looks like I'll have a little bit of trimming to do with, of course, the stretching. But that's okay. I'd rather have too much than not enough when we're doing this. So, there we go. What do you think? Look good so far? Good. So, we're going to let that dry overnight because I don't know exactly how long this stuff takes to dry. I know that I did my test piece, I know I did this morning about 4:15, and it is now 7:15 at night. So, what was that, 17 hours later? Or no? My timing is all off. It's about 15 hours later. So, still close enough. Anyway, so we're going to set this aside. We'll see how well we like this glue. Other ways that you can glue down felt like this is you can use, excuse me, runny nose. You can use straight up Elmer's glue, any PVA glue, wood glue will even work. Just don't put it on too thick. Just make sure you get a nice skim coat down, and then that way it's not seeping through the felt. If you're doing it onto a wood surface, at least either paint it, put some sort of sealer on it, or you can even just brush on a thin layer of glue and let it dry, because it will suck into the glue or into the wood, and you won't get as good of adherence. On this hardboard like this, I'm not so worried about it as much, because it's dense stuff. So, but we'll see. We'll see how it looks tomorrow, and we'll move on from there. Put that lid down there. All right. So, I'm going to talk about a few more things, and then I'm going to cut this video because I'm running a little longer than usual. I haven't glued it down yet, but I've got my piece for in here. I have my tray cut that new saw. It's a little tight yet, but I've got tools I can handle that with. So that's our new tray bottom. And here is one of the ideas that I have mocked up for the tray inside the drawer that I now have done. Turned out pretty well. Use that original back. I've got the front on. We've got it nailed and glued together. And yeah, I do glue the bottom in here because it's not solid wood, it's hardwood, so you don't have to worry about expansion and contraction and letting it slide inside those joints. I didn't glue it along the back of the front because those are wood, but I don't think we'll have too much to worry about. And here I mocked up the start of what I'm going to do for the interior of that drawer, and I did decide to make a tray that could be pulled out. I think I'm going to do the lid of this a little bit differently, but I got the most expensive material in the world just for modeling this. Christmas toy boxes. Keep it. You can use it for all sorts of really cool stuff. Just listen to Adam Savage. He builds all sorts of stuff with it for mock-ups. But we should be able to get 2, 4, 6, 8 pins in the tray, which is a pretty fair amount, because we're also getting in the top quite a few, plus the ones that will be in the lid. So we'll have quite a bit of storage. So I wanted to at least put some sort of storage in here. And so I did design this to have a tray in the back for pencil leads, some small ink bottles, ink cartridges, things like that you don't necessarily, you want to have next to your pins, but you don't want to necessarily see them out and about. So this is what I've designed for it here. But now that I've got my table saw and, whoops, don't want that. Yeah. Always keep the handles. It's material you can use in the future. Don't throw them away. I've got a box just for those. And I do use them. I'll use them for lid supports and stuff. I think what I want to do with this lid is I'm going to make it so it's just a couple additional basically spots for pins just to sit, just maybe some grooves in it. And I'm going to make it like I've seen in old writing boxes where it's kind of a secret compartment. It won't have a handle on it. What they will do is they will actually cut the ends on their brace pieces that they have in here slightly at an angle, so you'd push down on one side like that, and the other side raises, and you can take the lid out. I think that's really cool, and now that I've got some of the tools that I have, I should be able to do it. But I'm not sure. I may just decide we're going to make it like this. We're going to have a little handle for it. You'd still be able to lay some stuff on here if you want to. But those are the ideas, and that's what we'll be working on here in a little bit. All right. That's it for this one. Have a good one. And we'll see. I'm John. Subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.